Good morning. Welcome to Investigator News, and I'm your host, Ellie. Boy, another kick in the teeth by the Biden administration. Skyrocketing inflation has brought pain to the households across the country, but things are about to get worse before they get better. Biden's economy is in for another jolt today, as the Federal Reserve is expected to raise interest rates once again, as much as 0.75%, even possibly more, they say. This is the fifth boost in a row since March, and it's unthinkable. This has never happened in history. Markets are reaching negative with the Dow Jones down over 300 points or 1% as of basically as of yesterday. And the index has dropped almost 10% for the year. And this is something big that's happening. And prices took two hits last month with food cost rising, and well, actually twice, yeah, and another increase this month. Now, President Biden, he thinks everything is fine. 1/10 of 1% was the monthly change, and that's what he is stressing. American people who are really feeling the pain know that it's not 1%. It's 8.3 inflation over the year. And let's focus on the facts, though. We had two negative quarters for the GDP, and we're looking like we're about to have a third negative quarter in a row. And this time we had two negative quarters. It's been a recession. No, it's a recession inflation. And it's hard, it is a hard time for Americans. And basically, uh, in a recession, denying that the economy is struggling and denying that inflation is a problem is exactly the kind of thing that would make the markets panic. What the markets want to see is policymakers understand the challenges ahead and try to do something about it. And that's what the American people are asking for also. And it's a good, simple intuition as why GDP is declining and why inflation is the cause. If you look at inflation over the last 12 months, folks, it's the typical American family has to spend $560 more a month in order to have the same consumption they had last year. If the wage did not go up by this per month, and few people have not been as lucky. So the conception has go if the conception has to go down, their consumption has to go down also. Not to mention, many states have not increased welfare or food stamp payments, which have left the poor and the homeless out of the Biden equation. Uh, that's people under 25,000 a year have had no increases, which puts more Americans on the streets. And we see that everywhere. If we don't get inflation under control and government spending under control, it will continue a trade, which goes to the basically the bottom will be the physical policy. And people, some of the economists are saying people are in denial because the Fed can't do it alone. Uh, and when I asked the economist about this, uh, what I was getting was that a lot of people just don't understand and they're still buying. But then we have Christmas around the corner. So people are buying in excess, thinking if they don't do it now, there might not be products either left on the shelves or too expensive to buy in December. Now, I think um, if people were put off by the reactions of this administration, the president reactions on this day after day is just numbing. And more are seeing that he's just out of touch. And of course, they want to celebrate inflation. There's no celebrating this. None of us are celebrating, folks. And this is something I point out to a lot of Democrats is that we're not celebrating. Who's celebrating? And the first thing I ask them is, do you like the prices? Well, yeah, they're up, but we have to suffer a little pain. I said, no, we don't got to suffer pain. I said, if it was to all go back to where it was 2 years ago, there wouldn't be inflation, and everybody would be booming, and there would be bit more small businesses opening up, and everybody would be a little wealthier. So no party for us. This is now this Inflation Reduction Act is 739 billion more spending that hasn't necessarily been baked into the cake. If you have forgiveness of student loan, a lot of people feel inflation is embedded, and the economy even comes out more difficult. And so Jerome Powell goes a full point when the Feds meet next week. Uh, that's today. I'm sorry, because my economist told me next week. So we see him today. He could go a full point, folks. If you and who does this hurt? Who does this hurt? Everybody. Because think about it. If the interest rate goes up, you're talking your house payment. You're talking businesses that have to pay that full, which means what? Prices are going to go up again. In the grocery stores, if they have to pay another percent, then your groceries are going to go up again. It may not be much, or it might be a bunch. And so not only that, you have credit card amounts. If you got credit cards and use them, they're going to go up. So everything's going up, up, up again with this. And what do they say? They say he's only doing this to make the economy better, to equal the playing field on this. No, it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't work like that. You don't spend a whole bunch of money and during the month, and then at the end of the month, you say, okay, now here comes all these bills. And that's exactly what's going on. You don't spend more to make your bills go down. And that's what the economists have been saying for months now. So the fiscal policy to be in harmony with this, the Feds have been making it crystal clear that it is not going to work, and they're duping us. They're duping us, and they have been saying for a couple months they're going to fight inflation as hard as they possibly can. Right? They're not going to take another foot off the brake anytime soon. If the market's been saying, I don't believe you, I don't believe you, and I don't believe you. That's what the economists are saying because they know better. And I think the market is starting to digest what's happening. And as far as the part under the President Biden, with the timing of his victory lap talking Inflation Reduction Act, which does not reduce inflation, not when you're spending money still. How is it going to cut inflation? It was money that is paid out to add more money to taxes. Maybe this is what I was thinking and looking at it. Maybe they think because if they spend more money, they get more taxes from us. And of course, that will pay it down. It's like a kid with a young person with a credit card that has no idea that they just can't blow the whole thing. And then when the bill comes, they're like, oh, I wonder why it's so high. Yeah, that's exactly this. This is what this administration is doing. And it's poor timing. It's showing that they know what is really bothering American people, and they're going to do it. And American people, the sky's the limit. High inflation, it remains the number one concern with Americans. And, the thing about all of this is this $990 million plan to build the EV charging stations. Did you guys hear about that? Oh, yeah. They're going to write it in. Another $900 million plan to build EV charging stations across the country. Okay, and not only that, now they're saying that the cost of the average EV is going to be $66,000. Remember, That's not affordable for many people, especially those making under 30,000. They can't possibly afford this. This was a forced buy of a car. The cost is half their wage. For the year, for half their wages for the year. That's half of it. And then, and how many have the down payment for the car? How many can afford the costly month? The monthly, the month bill that you're going to get. So a loan amount of $66,000. Now you put interest rate of 6.25 on that for what, 4 years? Guess what your payment's going to be? $1,557. Okay, now give that to someone on welfare. I mean, if they're living on welfare, where are they going to come up with $1,500? And the total you're going to pay for the car is $75,000. And those 30,000 make, if you divide it on $500 a month before taxes. So tell me how this car could be afforded. And with the battery goes out on these cars, it could be as much as $10,000 to replace it. That does, what about the other parts that could break down on these? What about a set of tires after going so far? Any cost won't be affordable. That's, $30,000 a year income. What about less? What about those on Social Security? Social Security says their average person over the age of 60 is only getting about $15,000 a year. This administration believe 15,000 we must do it to save the planet. They've pushed this for 7 years on clean energy. Well, we've paid and still no data how it's worked, how it's lowered emissions. We've went to clean fuel, clean coal, clean everything. And they haven't even mentioned how many years that's taken off of us. The only thing they did mention is back in 2016 that, well, we're all going to die in 8 years. Well, we only got 2 years left, folks. We better start buying them $66,000 cars, or the world's going to end in 2 years. I'm sticking Bernie Sanders, AOC, and that Green Deal to their word from 2016. They can't change that ball game now. They said it, and I'm sticking to it this time. I'm not going to go for, Bernie Sanders in the 70s saying it, and then into the 80s, and so we're all going to die in 8 years. Yeah, it didn't happen. And then the mid 80s. Oh, I didn't say that. You didn't hear Bernie Sanders say that. And then it went into the 90s. And then it went into the 2000s. Then it went into the 2010s. So no, I'm sticking Bernie Sanders to in 2016. We're all going to die in 8 years. We got 2 years left. Yeah, let's see how well that happens on the election. No, the infrastructure is just not there. And not only that, we're going to run out of some of these lithium and cobalt and a few other resources they use for these cars, and definitely in 10 years. So me, I'm gonna get me a horse. Yeah. So as the Economist put it, folks, when you're attacking the supply, when you're attacking the people tend not, eventually will find out. Just like the numbers I gave you. Some people didn't sit down and realize that how much it's going to cost to have one of those EV cars. And not many knew that they're going to sign in, more money. They're going to spend more money to put in EV things. They should have put EV things in 10 years ago. Everybody's forced to buy cars, but where do you charge them? Oh, wait, we're going to sign this bill, and then we're going to start putting them in. Well, is that a bill that's going to put them in, or is that a bill to put people in certain offices to look at the root problem of where to put them? That's been I want to say, folks, Republicans say that too. Don't think that it's just the Democrats that fill you full of this BS that, oh, we're going to sign this bill and it's going to go for the good of the people. No, it does not. It spends money, and look at see where it goes. Normally, it's to create offices and more jobs for family and friends of theirs. Um, and then they all sit around at a table, kind of, okay, now what are we going to do? Pass the paper around and have us all put down an idea, and then we'll think about it. And then, let's hit up the American people with millions of dollars, again, for our idea that might work. Uh, yeah, um, expect more blackouts, brownouts. Yeah, they don't have what it takes to sustain um, the electric grid. And if they pull the plug, then what? Then we go to electric. Well, electric needs gas to run the electric system. Okay, if they're not going to use gas, what are they going to use? Well, I just don't think it's sustainable. Um, and they just don't. They're not thinking. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're all sitting around getting high with Kamala Harris. That's the only thing I can think of. They're just a bunch of potheads. They want to sit around smoking dope with Kamala Harris and come up with root causes. I'm sorry I said that, but I'm losing a lot of respect when it comes to the lives of the American people. And I have done so much to raise money for the homeless and children of the homeless for many, many years doing my haunted house. And I'm hearing them in their emails saying, what do we do? Anybody have ideas of what to do? We're running out of food. We're not getting food to the food banks, and the food bank lines are getting longer and longer and longer. And it just shows this administration doesn't care. And so for them to raise the they're all giddy about it. Oh yeah, we're going to raise um, we're going to raise the tax rate, or no, I'm sorry, the interest rates again. And Biden isn't saying nothing about it. Their economists aren't. In fact, they're sitting there smiling like a Cheshire cat. Um, so, boy, I'm about had it with these guys. And it's a huge problem. And if um, not only that, but they're talking. They may not have given the IRS enough money for these 87,000 employees. They said, they might have to do another $80 billion more for this. Not only that, but then we heard they're going to give money to Jordan. They're going to give money to Armenia now. They are just, it's almost like they're kids on a spending spree. You give a kid $10 and they just go run around and buy and buy and buy and buy until the $10 is gone. And to me, this is what they're doing. They're not very responsible for what they're doing with our money. Um, uh, Now, I want to move on to Russia, and I know I don't like to do too many military stuff because we could do it with William tonight. But there is, Russia has now made a call for mobilizing personnel who served in the army. He further accused NATO of using nuclear blackmail against Moscow. And he met earlier with representatives, and this is what his representatives are claiming. Now, who are his representatives and how do they know? Because that was mentioned this morning on the news. How does Putin know that NATO threatened him? Well, they have been his top administrators and the people that help Putin out running his country have been going around the country, and they've been talking to many people, and they're hearing through the grapevine and through the whispers that NATO might be considering arming Ukraine with nuclear weapons. William, there is It's not, they say it's not a nuclear weapon, it's something else that's nuclear. And I can't remember the name, and nuclear frac or fac is something that we need to look into for tonight because they're saying this is what he's going to use. So, you know, the U.S. and NATO don't know how he would possibly think there was going to be nukes, but they know the nukes that he's going to use. And this is what gets me. There's so much that isn't said. Um, what is it? If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Well, I think that we need our generals and our military personnel and even the White House. Just don't say nothing at all. Just don't say nothing. Because what it does is it gets these stupid conspiracy theorists going, and their mind just goes crazy, and they're not going to give you the truth of the news. And that's what I'm seeing, folks. I went and looked at a lot of sites yesterday, a lot of different YouTube channels, because of somebody that told me, well, these people kind of got a little bit conspiracy theory on me. So I went and I was listening, and they are just dying for viewers. Just tell the truth. You don't got to lie. The viewers will come, you know. If you build up a good news show, they'll come. So anyway, uh, so uh, the other thing is starting today is the UN, and the topic of the UN that was sent to all the countries was the fact that they were going to talk about food shortages until this nuclear thing came up with Russia. Well, Russia's not allowed. They don't want him there. And now they're going to talk about maybe what they can do for Ukraine or world peace. So, guess what? Our food shortages, our power shortages by all these world leaders just got thrown out the window. And now they want to talk war. Uh, and I don't know why they did that. There isn't the food shortage, power shortage, number one, um, with globally. I mean, even protests all over the world of people saying, enough is enough. And then the UN, and they're going in there, and it sounds like they're going to discuss something with the food shortage, power shortage, maybe soften up a little bit. Nope, they didn't. They didn't. Um, they're going to go with world peace. So, what peace? Peace, but there is no peace. Yep. Where have we heard that from? Huh? So, the other thing, and I didn't get to it yesterday, and I'm very sorry about that, is Germany. Now, Germany started back up its nuclear plants. And when they did, they found a leak. So, there is a leak in the nuclear uh, plant with Germany at this point. I haven't heard anything say anything different. I haven't heard of anybody going and trying to fix it or shutting it back down. Uh, but I did want to let you guys know because there are so many. We have a base over there with so many of our service members there, and that just really concerns me. Now, um, next, now how many times have I told you that those people that Ukraine was invading these states didn't want Ukraine around? They wanted Russia. Well, guess what? The referendum came out, and guess what? Russia gets those states because the people voted. The delegates and the I don't know what they're called over there. They're politicians for those states. They came back and with the referendum that says that Putin can get these states. Isn't that what I've been saying? And the Donbass is still up in the air, and they think Donbass will be the next. And they're even thinking all the way down to most of the Gulf, where Mariupol's at. All of those people still want to. And Crimea was the first to jump in and said, Ukraine needs to quit throwing these drones over here, and we've had enough of it. We don't want to be a part of them. So the referendum did happen, and so now Putin's next thing is don't go over there. how I feel about it. Don't go into those states and push yourself forward and keep fighting. Just stay where you're at. Let those states be, let the people be the people and let them decide, because there are Ukrainians, there are Russians in these states, like I've stated, that um, that they're family members, and leave them alone. If you want to fight with Ukraine from another direction. You don't need to push forward just because you got those states back. So, um, that's something else me and William might even address tonight, because it's still, they're working out some of the bugs, and Donbass could be added. So, that's exactly what I've been telling you guys, is these people, for one, they don't want war. They've been at war since 2008. They're fed up with it. Um, and I think that's why we're looking at Armenia now. Um, that now, everything seems to be, now that this referendum has went through. I heard this morning that maybe we need to go to Armenia, because that war is picking up, and maybe we can stop it before it gets too much worse. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, yeah, they can't decide it yet. Yeah. And Nancy Pelosi ran over there. So is Armenia the next war, the next proxy war are we going to get into? But not only that, they're even saying that we need to do something about Pakistan. And that was mentioned in a part of the military reports I was looking at. And, why Pakistan? Um, it's Armenia. Let's go to Armenia next. Let's go to Pakistan next. Well, what about Ukraine? Didn't you guys just stir up a bunch of trouble there? And now NATO wants to go mess with Armenia? National boundaries must be respected. Thank you. Thank you, William, right there. Because NATO don't. We don't. And, a lot of countries look at us like we're just warmongers. We're just looking for the next war. And this does prove it, folks. We need, I always thought and I kick myself now. Many years ago, Karen has even known this, and William, that I always felt we needed a very strong military person to be the president of the United States. Now I wonder, do we really need a strong, gung ho military man that could keep us going down this path of war after war after war? And we haven't even talked about Taiwan. We haven't even talked about Taiwan. And Taiwan is basically saying, they have been telling the United States for 2 weeks now, it's getting bad over here. It's getting worse. We really believe that, they may not strike full force, but they're coming at us in different ways. And we need the United States to step up and do something. Do we? Well, we're getting two different stories, one from the president and one from his administration. So, um, all right, I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss anything in my notes. Um, And BlackRock is the other thing that's been coming up, and they're going to let BlackRock start making a lot of decisions for uh, uh, following, borrowing and following their number system. And it could be also that when Biden's is basically today um, signing, I say it's the death warrant for the U.S. dollar. Um, Legal government surveillance of all U.S. citizens, total control over your bank accounts and your purchases, and the ability to silence all dissenting voices for the good. Buried inside this is what's in this order that he's writing today. I don't know if many of you knew, but this is what's in this bill. And that's legal government surveillance of all U.S. citizens, total control over your bank accounts and purchases, and the ability to silence all dissenting voices for the good. Yeah. And we're in a major upheaval of the US dollar, he says. In fact, he says, I predict the third great dollar earthquake has already started. The first was Roosevelt confiscating private gold in 1934. The second was Nixon abandoned the gold standard. And now, he says, Biden is planning to pave the way for the US dollar and replacing it with a disturbing new alternative. And this isn't no pipe dream. This is happening, folks. Executive Order 14067 already gives President Biden unprecedented power over the future of the U.S. dollar, he says. And sadly, most Americans will be completely caught off guard by it. Huh. Mike, what I'm getting is, do we get our money out of the bank? That's what I hear right off. Do we go get our money on the bank? Don't do a run on the banks. No, that just makes it worse. At this point, he, oh boy, you don't make a run on the bank. From what I'm hearing from the economists, that we still have the power of the people. We still have the GOP to stop it, and we're only a month away, a little over a month away from. So he can't do much in a month because it's going to be a stoppage at the House. I believe it's going to be a stoppage at the House because we're now seeing Democrats that are siding against Manchin and Biden on this infrastructure. They're saying, well, wait a minute now. And those Republicans that were siding with them, they're now taking a second look at this. So you got to wonder what's inside that we don't know about. The American people don't know what's inside these bills until after they're passed. Then they release it to us to find out. And by then, it gives everybody a chance to take a look and see what's in it. And it doesn't help that they throw stuff in. They're allowed up to 24 hours before the bill is actually put on the House floor. They're allowed to add to it. And they don't have to tell us about it. They just add it, and then they hope for the best. And then, of course, nobody has a chance to read it. Some of these bills are 10,000 pages. And, they hand it to the GOP and they said, there you go, we're going to vote on this in like 3 days. And they're like, what? How could you read all that? And that's what they hope for. And if they can't get their way, they'll vote in the middle of the night. And like I've told viewers, and if you're new, if Nancy Pelosi puts it out to be voted on, then she's got the votes to pass it. She will not. She has said that so many times in public and at press conferences. If I don't have the signatures to pass it, I won't put it on the floor. So, all right, I'm going to move on. Now, here's something, they've been calling on all of us to be strong-armed. And what it does is they know there's so many mental people out there that all they got to do is say, go get them, and they will. And, that's what's happening. And there has been a ration of attacks across this country. They're saying at least 30 of them in this last week. And one of them was a North Dakota man. He intentionally ran over and killing an 18-year-old over a political dispute. No one's, saying, no, don't do this. Nobody's coming forward saying, there's a better way around it. Don't go hurting conservatives just because we're mad at them or because we want you to. And it was called on by our own president to go get them. Isn't that what that speech was? That, if you're a conservative or you like Trump, we need to be dealt with. And this is happening. Look at 30 cases. Wow. And this shouldn't be happening. The president is supposed to unite us together, not divide us apart. and it is a division. So this man basically he ran this guy over, um, and he was a part of an extremist group. And this guy um, basically was saying that he allegedly told the dispatcher he chased down the teen because he was a part of the Republican Party. So he admitted to her. And this guy, he just, oh man, I don't want to say he looks like the type that would do it, because there's nobody that has the looks of the types. One minute you'll say, oh yeah, he looked like the type that would do it, and then you got someone that looks kind of like him, and never works. I mean, he fled again before deputies arrived, so he reportedly told the authorities that he had been drinking. And just before the incident, he called his mother and asked if she knew um, Brandt, according to the court documents. And she told him yes, and her son was on her way to pick him up. So she had to go pick him up after he uh, got put in the hoose cow. So, uh, you did some research, check into the Mastranio. What's that? Oh, the governor. Oh, for the governor. Okay. Well, good. Um, Pennsylvania. Am I right? So, um, so this guy ran down someone just because he was a Republican, and that's what Biden called for, folks. I hate to say it, but he did. He did. And you notice the White House didn't backtrack that one. When he mentioned Taiwan, oh, they jumped in and changed it. When he said other things, they jumped in and said, oh, no, 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 no. But for him going after conservatives, they didn't jump in and change that. Uh, so our security is, boy, just be very careful when you're out there, and don't fight with Democrats that you don't know. Um, Now, the other thing is these illegals that are caught, illegals that are going with smash and grabbers. Well, they're finding out that about 50% of the smash and grabbers are illegals. And now they're doing it over and over and over so many times to the same business because it's the only one open. It's causing um, it's causing business owners to have to sell their businesses because it's run by the cartel, and this is along the border that I'm talking about. And there is quite a few family restaurants in Texas that just have to shut down because they can't afford to keep replenishing their stock to have it stolen again. And it's and the police aren't going to do nothing. The administration won't do nothing, so they have no choice but to shut down because they got to pay for this stuff. They got to pay their bills. They got to pay their employees. And so a family restaurant down is Eagle Pass business owner, Selena Price. She said her decision to sell the family barbecue restaurant she owned is because migrants keep breaking into her establishment hard since February. And it's called the Wagon Wheel, and they said they've been there for 25 years, and previously with her parents for 19. And that because of the migrants completely overrun Eagle Pass now, that they loiter, she says, around businesses and wait for it to look really quiet or look like that they can't defend themselves, and they rush in and they take what they want. And then some of them even burn the buildings down afterwards. Um, this is and they think that it's strength in numbers because that's what they do in New York and even LA and all over, really, that they think if they get 10, 20, 30, 40 people and there's one clerk, that they can go in, overpower, and take whatever they want. And usually the clerk can't do nothing unless they got a gun. And then they start pointing the gun and they all say, oh, no, no, and they run out and they just wait and find another establishment. But this has been happening all along the border from Southern California all the way to Texas, and it's sad. It's very sad. Mob rule. That's right. This isn't no flash mob. Well, you know what happened to the nice flash mobs that jumped in and sang their little songs and did a little dance and made everybody happy? Now you see a mob and you're wondering where they're going and what they're going to take down for the night. Um, all right, so um, um, there is. I always tell everybody, quit watching TikTok. Well, now there's chicken with NyQuil for dinner. So now the FDA serves up a warning on dangerous TikTok trend. Oh boy. So a recent social media video challenges encourages people to cook chicken in NyQuil or similar cough or cold medicine to eat. It sounds silly and unappetizing, but it could also be very unsafe. Boiling the medication can make it much more concentrated and it change its properties in other ways. If you don't eat the chicken, inhaling the medication vapors while it cooks can cause high levels of the drugs to enter your body and your lungs. So you see what they're doing. Uh, who the heck would cook chicken in NyQuil? But that's what they're doing. And you know what? Like I said, it does change the property values of the chemical that's used to make the drug. Just like regular drugs, if you get a hold of it and you cook it, it changes the compounds, I guess, in it, and it can make it worse. It can make it deadly. I mean, all right. So, consumer safety is number one. They say the FDA. And NyQuil is an OTC medication that treats nighttime symptoms. And we advise consumers to only use as directed and with the dosing cup. Well, you know, these kids are going to go with that. What, what happened to eating Tide Pods or swallowing cinnamon or some of these other dumb things? Now the new fad is cooking chicken with NyQuil. Oh yeah. Yeah, I want it. There you go, Susan. Who sits around and comes up with these crazy ideas? Yeah, I think yeah, they're sitting around smoking pot with Camilla Harris. That's what they're doing. No, I need to leave her alone on that. But see, that was a big thing when I was in California with her, and they at one point, now if I remember right before we moved out here is when she was with Brown, Mayor Brown, not the governor, the other guy. Is it Willie Brown? And he was being looked into for drugs and possibly moving drugs out of Mexico into California. And so they were always seen out and about, even though he was married. And they always looked high. And so the big secret or the big comic thing with Camilla Harris is she always looked high as a senator. So that's where I get it from. It's not her as a president. It's just an old California joke, her and Willie Brown. And, you know, they ended up not getting together and she's with some other guy. But, you know, she's one of the ones that pushed making marijuana legal, not only in California, but through the feds. All right. No NyQuil in chickens. Good grief. um, there is a press conference, and I think this is going actually to a hearing that a former transgender child speaks out at a press conference for Protecting Children's Innocent Act. This is something that's going to go before the House. And what it was is when this child, she's 18 now, was 10 years old, she fell into the whole transgender changing your body. And she did many of the drugs to start making the transformation, and then eventually had surgery. Well, now at 18 years old, she could see the error in her ways. Now she is against it. And she's wanting other kids and parents to at least wait until they're 18 years old to make any decisions on transgender changes. And that she even feels that it shouldn't be in either the elementary school, the junior highs, or the high schools. And because of her, she now feels victimized by the teachers, the staff, counselors, doctors, and her folks. So I salute this little girl for this. Her, Marjorie Taylor is one that is put forth the Protect Children's Innocent Act, where a former transgender child it was going to speak out. This 18-year-old Chloe Cole described herself as a former transgender child. And she said her story is a cautionary tale that children and parents across the country have been caught off guard by gender ideology and discussions about transgenderism and gender identity, from being a relatively social oddity to becoming very academic, medical, educational, and that this is all part of their institutions. She says she was put on puberty blocking medication at 13 years old, and only a year later was given her first testosterone injections. The gender clinic presented her parents with false um, information regarding children with gender dysphoria. Now, I've never heard of this stuff before, folks, because I just don't like to look at it. And she said what happened regarding her transition. She wasn't, she was not informed consent. They didn't, but the fear tactic that the gender clinic used on her parents, she said she was scared for her lives and were prepared to sign anything the doctors asked her parents to do. And when she decided to back out, they basically um, talked her out of it, or talked her parents out of it. Cole explained that she got a double mastectomy um, at 15. And this was the kind of things that happening to children all over the world. Not only that, but uh, uh, um, mutilations. Randy asked me to talk about it today, and I don't want to get into the mutilations and stuff because it's horrible, and I don't know if they'll get me for it of talking about it. So now this Chloe Cole is now realized that her life is ruined, she says, and that she never really wanted this after the age of 14 years old, and that her parents, with counselors and school counselors, doctor counselors, gender counselors, and all of that, basically just strong armed their way into having her do it. And now, what's left? And she's not even certain that she can even be a woman at this point. Yeah. So, um, so if you guys hear about it, and I'll let me scroll back up here. I know she listed what it was. Um, and I can't find it. um, let's see. Maybe I didn't have it. Anyway, let's see. Uh, Protect Children's Innocent Act. It doesn't have a bill number. That's what I was looking for, the bill number, because then you know it's real. If you ever see any of these politicians, folks, that say, well, I got this bill, and that bill, and it's going to be on the table, go look for numbers, because all they could do is be making you promises on a bill that don't even exist. So make sure you always look up the numbers, okay? Boy, that scares me when politicians do that, because then when they don't do it and you're like, Well, what happened? You said you were going to do this. Well, there wasn't an actual bill. It was just a bill they want to come up with. So be very, very careful. Um, yeah, thank you. Healthcare professionals should have more sense. Um, Mary said she's seen the interview. Did you see the interview with the little girl? Um, if you did, wow. Is it online? Is it on YouTube or online to be watched? Because I didn't go looking for it. Uh, I just, I get the EBGBs from that. Yeah. Also, the children are taken out of schools by California by the teachers, and they take them to hospitals to do this. And they say, where is this coming from? Okay, where did all this start? And they're saying it started from the universities from the 70s. It was when the universities started bringing in uh, to be different. In the 70s, it moved into the 80s, and then they became professors and teachers at all the universities. Some of the students did, and then when they pushed it into the 90s and 2000s, it was becoming more and more acceptable. So, uh, yeah, common sense is not common. There you go. So, that's something that I think we need to really take attention to. Um, let's see. They indicted, and this is Arizona says they are going to really uh, buckle down and they're going to do this. And they're hoping that New Mexico and Texas and California do the same thing uh, to make sure when they get people that have been caught with fentanyl, um, that they are indicted for this and they don't let them go. And they're trying to get these states to commit to this. And with to show they mean they're serious. They've indicted two women in Arizona for the possession of over $850,000 worth of fentanyl. Now, there was a country western singer that got a hold of fentanyl somehow. He didn't, I guess, from what the family are saying, they didn't know he didn't know it was fentanyl, or they didn't know, and he ended up overdosing on it. Uh, Now, the House, this one I like. The House Progressive blocked the Manchin deal with Democrats on oil and gas permits. And he blames the GOP that was with him, that is now not with him. So they reached a deal with Senator Schumer, under which the coal state lawmaker would cast deciding vote in favor of the Democrats. In exchange for a promise from the Democrat leaders would include language streamlining oil and gas permitting and process in the next continuing resolution. Now that the House Progressive are blocking the inclusion or permitting of reform of the CR, Manchin is lashing out at GOP leaders for revenge politics and blaming them for failing to deliver Republican votes to uphold the promises that he made to Schumer. And, the budget busting tax spending bill opposed by every member of the Senate and Republican caucus. So it looks like we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. And like I said, we're having more Republicans that I think there's 12 of them that keep siding with the Democrats. I think there's only 6 left now. And then we have Democrats that aren't even agreeing with their own party. So, yeah, he lied. It's too late. There you go. Uh, German domestic intelligence is running hundreds of uh, right wing extremists, they say, social media accounts. And the report comes from the 5G. And lo and behold, I was just talking about that yesterday. Now, how many of you that's on social media all of a sudden had someone with your name wanting your friends and family to join them or add them, and they were using your name. Now, I want to let you guys know this happened under 4G with China. What they did is everybody says, "Oh, I got hacked." No, it's not a hack, folks. Was part of the program with China and 4G before 5G came out, where if you were on social media, it automatically put a double U on. So if you're like me, I got an Ellie account, and then all of a sudden there was another Ellie account, and this Ellie wanted all my friends and family to join her account. Anybody? Doxed. Yes, it's called being doxed. And this is what's happened. People didn't get hacked; they got doxed, or it's a part of the program. And what do they use it for? It's to be used in the future. And we're finding out this with 5G because they'll jump on there and they can do anything as long as they got your family and friends on there. They copied it. They could say, "Oh, look at what she just went out and did. Look at what he just went out and did. Oh yeah, we caught. Look at the oh how horrible." And that can hurt you. It could hurt your job. It can hurt you and your family members. That's what happened with 4G. So now Germans are doing this type of things where they're only going to focus on um, uh, the right wing um, class. And I don't know if that, and it's just for Germany for now and throughout Europe and the UK. Now it hasn't gotten here because we're not real strong 5G like they have been for over a year. They adopted it before we did. So, so anyway, I wanted to run that by you because look out, here comes 5G and all of what it's going to do here. And 5G loves TikTok. Oh, don't eat the NyQuil chicken, I tell you. Oh, uh, so, but that's what that is all about with Germany. And now it should be spreading, they say, to the United States within the next 5 years. Okay, Ukrainian refugees are fleeing Sweden. They said there's no future. There's no jobs. There's no nothing. They basically have said they were duped to go there and that things were better in Ukraine, where there was an open market for jobs and for their families. And they said in Sweden, there's just no future. And so now they're leaving Sweden by the big numbers and going back to Ukraine. And the thing about this was, they mentioned a gentleman that was from Haiti that got into the United States saying the same thing. And I guess there's two of these guys that became friends online, and they said now this guy's from Haiti saying, he ran from communism to come here, and he said the communism here is worse than the communism in Haiti. Now he's going back to Haiti, and his friend, of course, is leaving Sweden to go back to Ukraine because of no future. And the other thing this guy said was, uh, the big numbers they're pushing over the border right now only collapse as a country because they seen it, and they seen it with some of the islands. And not only that, but when they had disaster happen, there was so many people with so little that they could offer from the Haitian government. That's why they left. Well, they said when they got into moving up through uh, basically into the United States or even over to Mexico to wait their turn, that the numbers are just horrible. And they said it's only going to ruin our country. So, um, so one says that the United States is worse than Haiti, and the other one says they're leaving Sweden. There is no future. So, yeah, boy. Um, now, if you guys didn't hear this morning on my show, if you didn't watch it this morning, um, well, let me see. I'll go ahead and do it. There is a beer shortage. So those of you watching that didn't hear it this morning, or if you did, you're going to hear it again. And I'm just going to touch on it briefly. There's underground volcanic that happens, and it's interfering with water in certain states that is now causing beer prices to go up. So if you want to watch the whole thing, go back this morning and watch it. But I did want to say there is a beer shortage brewing because of a problem with an extinct volcano. And so they say it's basically the whole CO2 thing. Now, this has happened in Mississippi, Alabama, and I was going to ask Karen and Susan if they heard about this in Pennsylvania where the beer price is going up because of CO2. Um, but the shortage uh, of the beer, basically, they say that it hasn't really stopped the consumption, but it's going to cause the rising of the cost and even a lack of beer to be sold. So, uh, Karen warned him the volcanoes are going to ruin his beer habit. So yeah, strange brew for sure. Um, the other thing is Alabama toddler was left in the car. This is the 27th this year. This is crazy. Uh, when they were talking about it on commercials, when the media was warning everybody about these, don't leave your kids in the cars, they have less pet deaths of hot cars this year and more kid deaths going on. And, folks, don't do it. We're getting to the end of the summer already. And they said just since June till now, 27 children have died in hot cars. And the family said, well, I didn't know. I was only in the store a minute. Um, you know, um, Put a thermometer in your car and see, close it up and see what happens. Even with riding in the car with the air blowing just a little bit, like that most of these uh, parents are doing, the sun coming through the windshield will heat them. It'll heat it right up. And if they shut it off and say, okay, well, I'm just going to go in the store for a minute, even rolling down the windows, these kids can't handle this heat. It's what, 100, 110? Look at today. We're supposed to be 100, and I believe the heat index is going to be up around 110 here. So, yeah, Ellie isn't going out in the heat today. I already told William that. I said, no, I'm staying in. I'm a vampire today. And so the hot death card, the hot kids dying in this, there has got to be a way to stop this. Back when it was really a big thing a couple years ago, they were going to come up with devices that they could get that would warn parents that your kid's still in the car. Whatever happened to that? It all quit. And the deaths went down a little bit, and then now it's right back up and more than it should be. Um, um, they have caught, surprisingly, the Department of Justice actually has caught 47 people around the country with stealing 250, almost 300 million um, from the food programs for the kids for the United States. And they say it's a pandemic, they said, almost to what these, and they said they think there's more. And what they're doing is some of it is from these food banks, some of it's from food foundations, different foundations that get kids to the food, kind of like the one I belong to. No Kid Hungry, but they haven't been caught yet. If they get caught, boy, I'm going to be angry. But a lot of them are food banks is another one. Even the schools are misappropriating funds for the kids for low income. And I'm going to find out what's going on with the low income students on the free lunches, because when Michelle Obama was in power, She took it away where the kids, uh, if they didn't have if they didn't have the money, they didn't get any food, and they wouldn't allow charges. Now I know Melania Trump put some of it back into place that she could. So it didn't. If a kid didn't have no food, they would have to give the kids some food and charge the folks for it. Uh, so now with Jill Biden, we have no clue. But I think going into the new school year, we need to look into this, especially since we're having this money disappear, because the schools are allotted so much. And if there's some left over, it should be used for this purpose, according to the school lunch lady here that I talked to. And what she said is that money covers those kids that can't pay. Until their parents can get it back, they send them bills. And if they don't, then this is what they use. Well, this is money that's coming up disappearing too, and it's out in California. So California has got some lunch ladies with sticky fingers, and not just from cooking. So now, why are we drinking antifreeze? Huh? A Perel? What's Perel with Gatorade? Is it gasoline? You know the huffing incidents are up too. Kids that huff gas, and was it whipped cream bottles? That is up. They say 40% in this country right now. Boy, the things the kids will do. Alcohol. Oh, okay. So yeah, these kids, it, they wouldn't do it if the schools were running the way they were supposed to. If they did get the lunches that they couldn't afford, or maybe if they had teachers that didn't want to. Did you see the one with the big boobs? I mean, they were like, and he's a what do they call it? Extreme petty pervert from adult porn that he's into, and he's doing it in front of his kids, and the kids in the classroom hate it. Um, Boy, that what does the schools come to? We need better teachers. So, anyway, folks, that's it for today. Please subscribe, and I hope you share this show. I've been getting pretty good with getting some info to you guys the last I'm gonna say for about the last week, just digging deep and calling a lot of people to find out the facts. And of course, share our show, subscribe, hit the bell. I did notice I had not been getting notified on my own account of our show being on, and today I did. Out of the blue, it came up on both shows. So they're doing something at YouTube. So over in Facebook, hit your follow and your share. And to find out about the beer, go back, or if you missed this morning's show, go on back and watch it. It was a pretty good show. So, yeah, sick teachers. And I think the teachers we need to have them mentally evaluated with these teachers, because something ain't right with what they're teaching our kids. And it's all coming from the universities, just like I'd said. So, with that, folks, we will see you tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with me and William. And William, I'll give you a call probably about an hour so I can get William all ready for this. Boy, I got some good stuff. Uh, uh, with them talking about this nuclear and this other nuclear thing, I'm going to have to figure out what this is and come back at you guys with it. It's not nuclear weapons or something that's smaller that they're worried that Putin is going to use. Do I think Putin will do a nuclear strike? I don't know. Look at how long he put up with Ukraine saying, you know what, the Minsk agreement, I'm going to hit. And he put up with it for many years, and then finally just decided he was going to go in and he was going to invade Ukraine. So, all right. So anyway, with that, we will see everyone tonight. If not, we will see you tomorrow and Thursday. And tomorrow we have the shows in the mornings. So you all take care and God bless. Have a great Wednesday and get out and enjoy the nice weather unless you're in Arkansas and it's over 100. So, but everywhere else seems to be cooling off just a little bit. So we will see you all basically either later or tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful day, folks. Bye-bye.
Know you've been a good friend, and that's in the thick and thin.